Will Carsola.
David Stewart.
Talk about your project and how fun it is to do this.
Talk about our project and how fun. Well, it is a lot of fun. We get to go to work and write jokes about a dog that kills people and
Wears their faces.
Wears faces, cuts off their legs to wear stilts.
A lot of times, we'll get stuck on an idea and like pulling our hair out for like a half hour, and we're just like, how do we get this dog to wear the prostitute's legs as stilts? And then we remind ourselves how ridiculous that is.
That we're stressing.
And then we usually come up with the idea right after that.
Yeah.
That's funny. How did the idea come up for this though?
Well,
this is out there.
We come up. We do what we call a write-off, where we both sit in the same room together, and we're like, all right, let's just come up with 10 ideas each right now.
No pressure.
No pressure. A couple sentences long. Try to make the other one laugh. Because when we're sitting there really trying to, like, what should the show be about, or these ideas, that's when I feel like you start to stress about it, and you don't come up with something
Yeah,
funny.
if you linger on an idea too much and you type one word and then you backspace and start over, it's just not going to get anywhere. For us, we just like
throw out a bunch of ideas.
Bust out like 30 ideas in 10 minutes.
And then through one of those ideas, I think Will came up with the first few initial sentences. It was about a satanic dog that liked to kill people, jumping anywhere if I mess this up a little. And he would get treats when he did something good, so he'd go around and commit crimes, and then he would seem like he solved them all to get a pickle.
I could see so many people watching this. It's unbelievable.
Hope so.
I could just see it. It's unbelievable. Talk about your backgrounds and where you guys came from and how you got into the business.
Well, we're from Richmond, Virginia. Dave and I actually met years ago waiting tables together. And then...
Actually, you weren't a waiter yet. He was
That's true. I mean, I did do a little during the day, but yeah, I wasn't as good of a waiter
Yeah,
as
I was
he was.
really.
I was a terrible waiter. He was too, but he was more dedicated of a terrible waiter than I was.
Dedicated to being a terrible waiter.
Right. So we both realized we both had interest in doing film and video kind of things. I had always wanted to do that, but I'd been going to school for painting, and Dave had this crappy old Hi8 camera. And we just started making videos, and then we both just became consumed by it, just trying to make each other laugh, that kind of thing. And I wound up stopping going to school for painting. I just wanted to focus on doing video. Years go by, and we started putting out DVDs of comedy, graffiti, music videos, skateboarding, that kind of thing. And then that just led from one thing to another, things on the internet,
Yeah.
a couple shows.
We kind of shed a little bit of that early on stuff of the whole skateboarding graffiti. And Will and I became really obsessed with making sketches,
And some cartoons along the way. I would still make little animations, very simple kind of animations, every once in a while too. And then, a few years ago, that just kind of started to become our main thing.
Right.
We still want to film, a lot of things.
Just some live action, yeah.
How long have you guys had your beards for?
Well,
Were you a waiter when you had your beard?
I've always had beards, but not this long. I mean,
Yeah.
actually, we were actually growing them out for a short film that we wanted to make about these two guys who were living down by the LA River. And so Dave started growing out his beard and hair, and I started growing out just my beard. And right when we were about to film, the day we were about to film, we heard that the pilot, we were going to do the pilot for Mr.Pickles. They wanted to do the pilot, so like, all right, after the pilot, we'll film this thing. So we do the pilot.
6 months
and
later.
Then we got right into doing this. We did a second pilot actually, and then after that we got right into doing the first season, and we haven't had any time to film. So
It's been two and a half
over
years.
2 years.
So it's to the point where we're like, we're gonna keep them, and then when we have some downtime, we're gonna finally make the short film.
People think we're homeless.
Our offices are pretty close to Skid Row in downtown Los Angeles, and I've noticed that when we first started growing our we always had. I had like a short beard. Like walking down the street, people would say, you know, it was kind of like a certain element of people down there that would keep away from us, and now they ask us if we want to buy drugs.
There was one point in time where Dave and I were just in a writing zone, and we were just typing till our fingers were bleeding, and we stayed in the office for 6 days straight. We didn't leave the office, didn't go home, didn't change our clothes, anything. We got the writing done, and after 6 days, we walked out into the streets in the early morning, and people looked at us like we were crazy, you know, just like
We look pretty
beards,
crazy.
hair everywhere, and bloodshot eyes, just like
We hadn't slept in like 30 hours.
it was crazy.
Talk about your voice casting. I think it's perfect. I think it's great. Talk about that.
Well, I think for Brooke is one that was we like to tell a story, but she's like, we were getting names of people suggested, you know, and we were going to cast Miss Goodman, and Brooke Shields was one, and Will and I were like, yeah, right, kind of thing, and so we were continuing to go through names, and we submitted some to our manager, and he came back and he was like, guys, why didn't you pick Brooke Shields to come in? And we were like, oh, we didn't really think that was like a real offer. We kind of thought someone just threw that in there, and they were like, no, she's interested. She actually wants to do it. And we were like, okay, you know. So we still wanted to hear her voice, but she's busy. She's actually doing an Exorcist play at the time, which is pretty fitting. But we went online and we watched some of her
Just a
stuff.
clip of her voice, and
we were
it's
like,
perfect.
man, that voice is perfect. And then we knew Jay a little bit. We had other people come in and cast for Mr. Goodman, but Jay, I always feel like is Mr. Goodman. He even kind of looks like him, but his voice is just perfect. You know, it's just, I think for all three of them, for Jay, for Caitlin, and for Frank, we were hearing a lot of voices, but
They weren't quite it.
yeah, and for all of them, it was like the second you heard him do it, you were like,
that's it. Like Dave and I looked at each other like,
yep, that's our.
Talk about how important casting in general is.
It's so
People
important.
think they can cast in general, but they can't. Talk about from your perspectives.
Voices are something that Dave and I are very picky about.
Very.
So, if the voice, there's two aspects of it. If the voice doesn't match the character, then you have a problem. And if the actual visual design doesn't match the voice, then you have another problem. So, we're very particular about those two things. Dave and I do a lot of voices on the show.
We've probably done 50 or 60 each this season.
We do a lot of the town's characters, reoccurring and both the ones that die off. But and that's the tough thing, is that we come up with all these crazy characters that we love. They have these cool twists to them, and then they have to be killed. You know, it's like, oh, I wish I could keep this character around. But I think the two characters that Dave and I do the most, that are the most recurring, is he does Linda, who's this kind of homeless Avon lady,
Tweaked out. Yeah.
and then I do the sheriff, who's, you know, both those characters are usually in every episode.
Yeah.
All right, before we go, give me the sheriff and give me Linda.
Hey, baby!
Keep it down, Linda.
Oh, how you doing today, Mr. Sheriff?
Sure, I'm the sheriff. Linda, you can't dig through the trash here.
Huh? This ain't the trash. This is where I get my goods.
Keep it down.
Huh?
That's really good. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I could see you guys in the room for 6 days already.
Yeah.
I could see that.
This is where these things
Just
are
going
born.
crazy.
You guys are